Irish guy and flop, flop, flop. No, that's not the sound of an octopus trying to make love. No, that is just what's going to happen to Casemiro. I mean, what? Don't look at me like that. Did you not see Gary Neville's spreadsheet of the Manchester United flops? Before you all get very angry at me, let me just ask you one question. When was the last time that Man United paid big money for a ready-made global superstar, only for him to then be a long-term success? And when I say long-term success, 3 years. That's all I'm looking for here. Just 3 years of solid top-tier performances in a Man United shirt. So, I mean, that cancels out Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Robin van Persie. So, who was the last big name signing to do that? 3 years of greatness, that's all. And no, David De Gea was not a big name in football at Atletico Madrid. I mean, I want to say Michael Carrick, but I mean, a household name? I mean, do you think when he was at Tottenham, anyone in Spain knew who he was? I mean, he could have walked through the Milan airport and passport control would have just assumed he was just some bus driver from Wigan. No, the last big transfer, the last big name who came to Old Trafford and was a long-term success was, Wayne Rooney in 2004. That's 18 years ago. I mean, realistically, a baby could have been born on the day he arrived, and that baby is now illegally drinking pints down the pub. I mean, don't forget, Sir Alex Ferguson mostly targeted established Premier League stars, and then promising young talents from weaker leagues like Cristiano Ronaldo, Nani, Anderson, and Bebe. I mean, signing these global big superstar brand names, that's very much a post-Fergie thing. And guess what? They never work. Lads, on paper, yes, Casemiro looks like one hell of a buy, but I mean, I thought that about Angel Di Maria in 2014. Fair enough, okay, he didn't settle. I mean, his house was broken into, clearly he was a bit of a sensitive Ron Weasley, and had the backbone of a depressed goose. But lads, Rafa Varane, a world champion centre-back, and even he's failed so far. I mean, how old was Bastian Schweinsteiger when he joined the club? Oh, about 36, 37, right? I mean, his legs were shot to pieces. He had the midfield impact of Bert Lasagna, and soon just packed up his suitcase and scuttled off to America. So yeah, about 36, right? No, he was 30 years old. Same age as Casemiro. And 1 year after he just won the World Cup, one summer after helping Germany stick 7 goals past Brazil, and yeah, while at Old Trafford, he just looked like an overweight snowman. I mean, he looked a bit like a vampire who hadn't slept in months, but at least he went to Manchester United in good faith. I mean, he was signing for a team in the Champions League. I mean, this guy, his only other Premier League opportunity was when he was offered to join Newcastle in 2008, and given the chance to replace James Milner on the left wing. I mean, for a proud Bavarian champion, he'd have probably sooner stuffed dead mice in his mouth. But Casemiro, he is willingly signing for a team bottom of the Premier League. I mean, this is supposed to be a Champions League addict, and yet it's just...
Yeah, sign me up for Thursday night trips to Armenia.
I mean, what a waste. This is supposed to be one of the greatest midfielders in the world, so I don't know, this would be a bit like if Leonardo DiCaprio just chose to turn down major Hollywood film roles to, I don't know, become the next host of the Great British Bake Off. Manchester United are signing a Brazilian defensive midfielder. I'm just gonna say 3 words to you. Cleberson, Anderson, Fred. I don't have to say any more than that. Oh yeah, and Andreas Pereira too. I mean, to be fair, what would Man United be without having a Brazilian flop on their books? I mean, since 2003, there's only been 2 years where Man United weren't paying money to one of these wasters. Am I being too harsh? No. Anderson probably had a McDonald's drive-thru set up in his house. He was probably eating Big Macs on the toilet. Brazilian midfielders never work at Old Trafford. They just don't. And he's 30 years of age and has won everything there is to win. Where is his hunger and motivation to win the goddamn Europa League? I promise you, he won't have that. There's no burning ambition and desire of his to be fighting and scrapping for top 4. I mean, he finished 4th with Real Madrid, or even when he was on loan at Porto, and both those sets of fan bases would be demanding you get stabbed in the eye. I just don't think his hunger and motivation is there. It's clear as day why he's left Madrid. It's for a last big payday. £350,000 a week. Sigh. Casemiro loves money. I mean, right now, he's probably sitting in a Spanish flat, dreaming about next week when he can take a bath in pound notes. A bit weird. Lying completely nude in a tub with about 500 queens staring at your crotch. Well, lads, I know very little about Casemiro as a person, but I think he's just exposed himself. I mean, no, this isn't that embarrassing. I mean, it could be worse. I mean, private DMs could have been exposed on the internet, revealing that when he comes home from work, he likes to dress up as Helen Mirren, or I don't know, he often gets aroused by the warthog of Lion King. What, it happens? I mean, Casemiro could have just been exposed as liking to sniff public toilet seats, or that he enjoys playing Twister with his mum. So no, it's not that bad. But I still have slightly less respect for the man. In my head, this guy was a fierce competitor, a warrior, a man who wins at all costs. Essentially, the Brazilian Aragorn. In my head, this man was an anomaly, because this was a Brazilian footballer with actually relatively little actual natural talent, but who was a workhorse. A bit like Brazil's answer to Roy Keane. I mean, samba footballers have been known to often spend their mid-20s partying their talent up a wall. I mean, have a look at Ronaldinho, one of the most skillful athletes to ever exist on the planet. But because of too many cheeseburgers, marshmallows and bottles of gin, Pep Guardiola was done with him at 28. I mean, bear in mind, Guardiola would later be regularly picking Fabian Delph at 28. But Casemiro, a relentless workaholic, 5 Champions League titles in 9 seasons. I mean, he's represented Real Madrid 100 games more than Zinedine Zidane. That is huge. Real Madrid are a club to be notorious for sneering at defensive midfielders if they're not flashy enough. I mean, good Christ, back in 2003, they just threw out Claude Makélélé, discarding him in the same way that you would rapidly shove a bag of your granddad's poo in the bin just so they could afford to buy David Beckham. So the fact that Casemiro has been a first team regular since 2015, it's amazing. I mean, especially after the 2014 World Cup. Real Madrid loaned him to Porto and gave him an option to buy. I mean, poor old Ruben Neves. I mean, there's a man who played in midfield alongside Casemiro. And let's be honest here, Neves is the more technically gifted footballer. I mean, he was probably banging in free kicks on a daily basis in training, whilst the comparative caveman from Brazil was probably just kicking the corner flag. Okay, no, that is harsh. I know Casemiro has got technique too, but not on the level of Neves. Well, despite the two teammates probably sharing shepherd's pie together in the canteen, one has gone on to win 5 Champions Leagues and the other, he's gone on to spend 6 years at Wolves. I mean, Casemiro has probably got Ronaldo and Zidane in his phone book. Neves is probably still getting Facebook pokes from Barry Douglas and Courtney House. But listen, Casemiro was lucky because back in the summer 2015, Rafa Benitez saved his career. I mean, Benitez started that season by prioritizing a Brazil destroyer like Casemiro. At the end of the season, by having to pick Jack Colback in midfield. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't vomit Rice Krispies in his lap. I mean, do you all remember the fuss about the Brazil team who won gold at the 2012 Olympics? I mean, the amount of wonderkids from that team who were overhyped beyond belief. Sandro, Lucas Moura, Leandro Di Mao, Oscar, Hulk, Paulinho, Alexander Pato. And does anyone remember Ganzo? I know, he sounds like someone who should live in Sesame Street. I mean, honestly, when you talk about athletes at that Olympics, Ganzo got more press coverage than Anthony Joshua. Well, it's funny. The most successful Brazilian of that generation was a scruffy Sao Paulo DM who didn't even make the squad. So fair play, Casemiro. You've got a medal collection that would probably make Neymar cry into his Cocoa Pops. This guy who could have signed for Tottenham in 2012, and they signed Paulinho instead. So I get that the lore of Manchester United in the Premier League is big. But Erik ten Hag is a guy who wanted Frankie de Jong, a silky ball-playing midfielder, and now has just chosen to go and get the complete opposite player. I mean, it's like a young family wanting to adopt a kitten, and yet they come home from the animal rescue shelter with a snarling Doberman. You'll be lucky if he doesn't bite the head off your baby boy. £350,000 a week for a 30-year-old midfielder who will need to be replaced in 3 years' time. Now, apparently, Real Madrid want to replace Casemiro with Bruno Guimaraes, which would be the first time that Real Madrid have raided St. James's Park since buying Jonathan Woodgate. Again, in 2004. And no, Santiago Munez doesn't count. I mean, that was fiction. Relax. In the same way Johnny Depp isn't stranded on the beach drinking a bottle of rum. Actually, no, to be fair, he probably is. But this won't happen. No way, forget it. Eddie Howe has already said that Bruno is not for sale. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but moving from Newcastle to Real Madrid is idiocy. And not for the same reason that Yohan Cabaye quitting Newcastle for PSG was a career death. Nah, it's just in his case, he just simply wasn't good enough. But Bruno Guimaraes is Real Madrid quality. Absolutely. But he's also utterly worshipped at Newcastle, and he's the first big face of the new regime. I mean, this guy's only 24. It is entirely realistic to think that he could be the captain when Newcastle win the Premier League. He's a man who can carve out a legacy as a Newcastle United and Premier League legend. I mean, he'll have a statue outside the ground. Beating this club with David Silva and Vincent Kompany were to Man City. So to go and just become a bit part player at Real Madrid, fighting for a place with some spoiled French kids? No! Again! It'd be like if David Silva had quit City in 2012 and gone to the Bernabeu. I mean, considering the way they got rid of Mesut Ozil, I don't think he'd have been treated fairly there either. Within about 3 years, they'd probably have got bored and sold you to Arsenal. But I will say, Manchester United's obsession with Real Madrid He's a bit creepy. Lads, this club were the dominant team in Europe for the last 10 years, right? But how lazy is the Man United's recruitment team? Just decided to continually raid the Bernabeu? I mean, get your own ideas. I mean, lads, look at the starting 11 from Madrid's 4 Champions League finals since 2014. How many have Man United tried to buy? We all know they tried to stuff fat wages down the throat of Sergio Ramos in 2015. They were inches away from securing a loan deal for Pep Contral in 2013. Sami Khedira has already said that David Moyes tried to buy him. Toni Kroos had agreed to move to this club in 2014. Keylor Navas was waiting at the airport for a Manchester flight. They also wanted to pay £70 million for Alvaro Morata in 2017. They are constantly begging both Cristiano Ronaldo and Gareth Bale to join for years. I mean, they signed Angel Di Maria and Rafa Varane. And I know it's going back 13 years, but yeah, they tried to sign Karim Benzema too when he was at Lyon. So are we really surprised they're now going for Casemiro? No, I mean, this is like the middle-aged collector of Toy Story 2. You know, the one who looked like Rafa Benitez if he had a weird obsession for cowboy toys? Yeah, well, that's what Manchester United have been for years. Obsessed with collecting Real Madrid superstars. Imagine how nervous David Moyes must have been when he was on the phone to Toni Kroos. How could he be seriously persuading the German star to join when he just spent the last 9 years picking Leon Osman and Phil Neville in midfield? Although, honestly, to be fair, Man United, they should have just signed Mesut Ozil in 2013. But right now, David De Gea, just close your eyes and pretend you're at the Bernabeu. You'll be playing behind the spine of Varane, Casemiro and Cristiano Ronaldo. I guarantee you, this is a guy who probably watched Madrid win all those Champions Leagues, and honestly, it must have felt like punching himself in the stomach. But De Gea, if you can't go to Real Madrid, Real Madrid will go to you. You've essentially just stolen Real Madrid's spine from 5 years ago. But mark my words and give it a year, and we'll be looking at a rapidly declining Casemiro on massive wages and adding him to the long list of expensive Man United flops. Honestly, lads, I don't want to be right, but he's going to be pretty poor. Anyways, for what you think, let me know in the comments section below. How is Casemiro going to do? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to share as always. I'll talk to you in a while.